This is a topic I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, and it's pertaining to taking care of aging parents. Now, I have my mother and my stepfather who live probably about 10 miles from me, and they're both 85 years old. Over the last several years, they have started to have some problems with different things, and it's really hard to identify this when it starts to happen. I know when I started recognizing there was a problem that I needed to help them with, it had to do with some cognitive reasoning and some memory issues. And fortunately for me, I don't live very far away. I'm able to go visit several times a week. They still live on their own. They're not living in my home, and we're going to cover these topics in this video. But one of the first things I want to cover, things that you might have to deal with aging parents, is their health issues. Now, as they get older, they're going to have a lot of different health issues. My mother has had a couple falls. She's had a hip replacement surgery, and they've been in her twice and done that surgery. She got an infection. They had to go back in and do some other things. And currently, she will not let them operate on her leg. They need to take the apparatus out of there because the infection is not going to go away. So she is on high-powered antibiotics the rest of her life, and she's 85 years old. Being on those antibiotics causes a lot of daily problems, with different things, upset stomach and what have you. And my mother is one of them type of people who don't believe in doctors. She doesn't believe that the doctors know what they're talking about. They prescribe her medicine. She decides she's not going to take it the way they prescribe it, that she's going to take it the way she wants to take it, and that presents problems in its own. So these health issues with my mother have really hit me hard because I've had to deal with them pretty regular, probably on a monthly basis right now. My stepfather, he's another thing, another issue with him. He just got done with some cancer treatments on Merkel cell carcinoma, and I had to take off work and take him over to the University of Tennessee Medical Center to meet with a cancer doctor. He went through immune therapy. He went through a surgery to get it off his neck. It was in his lymph nodes, and that was really iffy. And then he had to have radiation afterwards for about 6 weeks. The radiation really kicked his butt. It really made him tired and have you. But he seems to be recovering from that quite a bit. Now, he's going to have to go back pretty regular to the cancer doctor for scans to make sure that this doesn't come back. Like I said, it got into his lymph nodes, so that could have been a real major problem for him. We're still not sure that he's clear and out of the water with that. For the most part, I think that kind of scared him. And for the most part, he listens to his doctors. But my mother, she does not listen to her doctors. I have been with her back to her orthopedic surgeon several times, and he tells her the same thing every time she goes over there. She said, "Miss Marty, are you ready to have the surgery?" And she says no, and we come back home. And then, later on, she starts having pain again or what have you. We have to go back over and see him. It's the same question over and over again. So as they get older, they get a little more cantankerous and a little bit harder to convince them that sometimes these doctors do know what they're talking about. Another thing that you might have to deal with your aging parents is their finances. Now, I am my parents' power of attorney. I'm on the medical power of attorney. I'm on their banking accounts and just about everything. I'm their executor to the wills and everything. This is something that's very important. If you've not thought about this, on the internet, there's about 8 or 9 things that you should do before your parents get too old to help them with their life, okay? There's a list of these on the internet. It's some of the ones I just mentioned, power of attorney, on their checking accounts, and those kind of things. Keep up with their finances, because as they get past the age of reasoning or cognitive reasoning, they need a lot of help, okay? And sometimes they recognize that, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they ask you for help, and then later on they forget that they asked you for help, and then they get on your butt because they think you're invading their privacy. I don't know. It's just hard to deal with sometimes with these finances and stuff. You got to be careful because you don't want to take away their freedom. That's probably the worst thing you could do. You just need to be there to help them and ask them, is there anything you could do for them? Sometimes my mother, she'll just tell me flat out, I need help. And then you just got to recognize that and just kind of do it. Prescription medicines is another thing that aging parents need help with. Like I said a while ago, my mother is self-medicating. She does not take her medicine like her doctors tell her. And, I'll go over there one time. I went over there and she's taking a big barrage of different medicines 3-4 times a day, different things. So I bought her one of those big plastic pill dispenser things that have the day of the week, the 7 days. Well, I got her one that had an AM, it had morning, afternoon, evening, and bedtime because she was taking pills 4 different times of the day. And I went over there and we went through her list and I put them in there in the little boxes. I made her a list of what she takes, what she takes in the morning, what she takes in the afternoon, or whatever. She comes out of the closet with a big old shoebox Kroger bag full of pill bottles. And, that's a problem because if something happens, they end up in the hospital and the doctors trying to find out what medications they take. So a lot of times your parents can't answer that. My mom can't. She can't tell the doctor everything she takes. So I have a list in my phone under her contact name in the notes section. I have a list of the medicine she takes, the dosages, and how often she takes those. So if I have to go to the hospital and they need to know this information, I could just pull that right up on my phone. So there's a tip for you. Keep a lot of their medical information, their date of birth, and that kind of information that you need to give to doctors or nurses in a hospital in your phone so you can pull that up when you get there. Because I'm going to guarantee you something, they're not going to remember it, okay? At 85 years old, they're not going to remember all these things. So kind of have to do it yourself. Here's another thing that's going to come up with your aging parents as time goes on. Driving, okay? Now this is a scary subject, driving. I have driven with my parents. I have let them drive me places. Not anymore, okay? They scare me to death. But, here's the thing. You can't go to your parents and say, hey, it's time that you quit driving. You need to park your car and give up your license. Oh, man, you don't want to do that. Because I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. It happened to a friend of mine. When they did that to his mother, she would call him to go get her a gallon of ice cream. And then she would turn right around and call her daughter to go get her a gallon of milk or a loaf of bread. And sometimes the two of them would meet at the store, the two siblings. She was playing one against the other. So don't take away their driving privileges. Let them decide when they shouldn't be driving anymore. It's kind of scary. I had a mother-in-law who was nearly 93 years old, and she was still driving, okay? And finally, we did something about that and got her off the road before she hurt herself or worse, hurt somebody else, okay? I have spoke to my mother about this, but there's just no reasoning about this driving. I think that, I hate to say this because I'm gonna be there one day myself, but I think that they should test senior drivers more frequently as they get older to recognize problems, because they could kill somebody on the road or somebody could run into them and, there's all kinds of problems with that. And I don't know, maybe that's a topic of controversy there, and I probably shouldn't have touched on that at all. Probably get some people upset with me. Another thing to consider when you're taking care of your aging parents, when is it time for them to move in with you or into a skilled nursing facility or something like that? I have not personally had to answer that question for my mom and my stepfather, but I do have some personal experience with this. So let me explain. About 4 years ago, my wife's mother moved in with us. She was from Florida. We live in Tennessee, and she was from Florida, and we brought her up here to live with us because none of the other siblings on my wife's side were able to take care of her. So we moved her in with us. We vacated the master suite, gave it to her. My wife moved over to the other end of the house in one of the bedrooms, and I was in the other bedroom. We have a 4-bedroom house. And, at first things weren't too bad. But then we realized there were some problems. She was getting up in the middle of the night. She was roaming around the house. She would open the carport door. We finally had to place cameras in the house and around the house. I'd never had security cameras until she came to live with us. And we had alarms on them. So if she got up moving around at night, we would get a notification on our phone, and we could get up to see what was going on. There were several times that she fell and fell in the bathroom or what have you, fell in the shower. So we realized there were some problems there. We were able to get her some Medicaid help, and we were able to get some skilled nursing care to come into the house for about 4 hours a day. After a few weeks of that, we realized, and my wife and I both were still working, by the way, we realized that the 4 hours a week was not enough skilled nursing care, so they increased it for us to 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. Well, when we got home from work, okay, it was like having a child waiting on you. We had to do all these things for her because the nurse left at 4 o'clock. I went home, and we had to do all these things for her. And we had worked all day. And boy, I tell you what, it really wore us down. So you need to consider this. If you're going to move your parents in with you, you need to consider a lot of different things. But it's just like taking care of a child. It really is. And fortunately for me right now, both of my parents are able to live on their own. They're still driving. They're still pretty much taking care of themselves. But at some point, this could change. What do you decide to do? A lot of people said, oh, no, I'm not putting my parents in a nursing home. Well, that's exactly what we had to do to my mother-in-law because we just couldn't do it anymore. The caseworker came to our house. They interviewed us. They interviewed my wife. My wife cried at the table. She said, I love my mother. I just can't do this anymore. I'm physically exhausted. It's hurting my marriage, and I'm not able to concentrate. I just can't do it anymore. She thought she could, and we tried for 2 years. It's really, really difficult to take care of an aging parent in your home. And I know a lot of you are probably in the same situation. You probably do have an aging parent living in your home. And if you do, and I like to hear about it in the comments to hear what you've got to say about that. Another thing too is you can keep them in their own home if you want. If you can get some nursing care in there to look after them, if you're still working and you can't visit as often as you like. For me, when I retire at the end of this year, I hope to be able to spend a little more time with my parents, during the week and visit more often just to keep up with them to make sure everything's okay. But they have told me in no uncertain terms, they don't want me keeping track of them. They don't want me hovering over them, okay? So I don't. I quit going over as often as I did. I used to go over about 3 times a week. Now I go over about once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. Okay. I keep up with them on the phone or what have you. And there's other ways to keep up with them. Okay. Another thing to consider here is getting some assistance when you do have to take care of your parents. Now, that could be from your spouse or your siblings. Fortunately for me, my wife actually can convince my parents things that I can't convince them of. And, that's amazing. I guess that's just the way it works. They think more of the spouse than they do of you. And they'll listen to my wife sometimes. Another area of assistance you can get is from other siblings. Now, here's the situation with me. My wife has, with her mother, there are 5 children in that family, and they're all still living. None of them live around here, around us, but they're not able to take care of her mother. We were the only choice. It was us, okay? And you have to support your spouse when that happens. And if something happened, I had to move one of my parents in with me or something like that, or something happened to my stepfather, my mother was on her own and I had to move her in, my wife would support me. Now, as far as siblings go, I have a sister that lived way over in Nashville, and my brother, he's not able to help us. He's no longer with us. He committed suicide about 20 years ago, and I don't know why. He and I were about 1.5 years apart in age. We were very similar in mannerisms, and he's just not with us anymore. So he's not able to help me. I'm on my own with these two parents. Now, my stepfather has 5 children, but here's the problem. My stepfather's from Wales, so they all live over there, except one lives in Boston, but the rest of them live over in Wales. So they're not able to come over and help out either. It's me. It's on me. Taking care of my aging parents is on me right now. So I'm dealing with that the best I can. I'm moving my way through life into retirement. And I would love to hear your stories about your aging parents, and maybe you have to take care of. Maybe you want to leave a comment and tell me about that. I would love to hear about that. Maybe some of the suggestions you have would help me deal with my aging parents. So just remember one thing, okay, about your aging parents. They gave you the first 18 years of your life. Surely you can give them the last 18 years of their life. Thank you very much for coming tonight, and I really appreciate y'all being here, and y'all have a good evening now. Bye-bye.